Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People Show. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I'm abundantly humbled because this person is just as creative and humble as I feel that people should be in the world. So I want to welcome Theodore, who is a beautiful and humble mixing and mastering engineer. Theodore, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Us People Show. How are you?
I'm very good. And yourself?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so
Good,
much.
good.
I'm well. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
You are more than welcome. It's always nice to have one of us on the show, a creative soul on the show. So, Theodore, my first question for you is, could you tell me a bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Oh wow. So originally I'm born in Houston, Texas.
Ah,
Um, I moved to London when I was well, okay, there was two stints. So born in Texas, moved to London, then moved back to Texas, then back into London. So my childhood was spent between the States and the UK. So
that's
my dad's side of the family is mainly States, my mum's side is UK.
oh, what was it
So
like traveling between the two? Because I've heard so much about Texas, and how it is as a state. I don't know if that's true, but and I'm sure you'll elaborate a lot more on it, but what's it like traveling back and forth, especially at a young age, going back and forth, but also in Texas itself?
Traveling, I would say when you're that young, it's you just want to get on the plane and it's just like, oh, I'm flying in the sky, you want to be next to the window and see, all of the sights and things. But Texas, everything is bigger. That is, I think, the main difference between the UK and or London, I should say, London and Houston is the size of everything. So, for example, the roads, like a big, let's say, interchange or a road in the UK would be like 3, 4 lanes, where
Yeah.
that is normal. We have like some places you have up to like 10 lanes,
Whoa.
8 lanes. So that is, yeah, just the size of everything. So from let's say you're going from like South London to North London, it might take you an hour.
Yeah.
You could driving in Houston, that might just be one little section of Houston. I think from one end to the other end, it's roughly about 6 to 7 hours, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Um, so yeah, yeah, Texas. Well, it's the second biggest state in the map. Well, after Alaska, I think. Yeah, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. Yeah. So
That's
yeah,
definitely
it's just the size, literally the size of everything. Yeah, distance. So like, I say one of the big things, going from school. So we used to jump on what we call the yellow bus.
yeah.
Whereas in London, you don't. Everyone just gets public transport in terms of
Yeah.
either the bus, tubes. So that was a big cultural shock for me, a cultural change.
Mm.
And the food,
What's the
the,
food
the
like? Is the
UK,
food would you say the food's a
the
bit
food
over
is
there or here?
definitely America. However, I would say it's more processed.
Yeah.
But
True.
um, I guess because where Houston is situated, we get a lot of Spanish and Mexican foods, and then you still have a big like barbecue kind of dishes. The food in Texas is by far better than London. Even though I feel like London has a lot more variety. I
Possibly.
think Texas specializes in different things. So, as I said, barbecue, Mexican. Um, I would say they're two big staples of the diet in Texas. 100%.
That sounds
Mac and
awesome.
cheese, soul
Oh,
foods.
yeah.
Yeah,
You said
the
mac
good
and
stuff.
cheese. I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm definitely there.
yeah,
So let's
yeah.
the next question is one of the questions that I love to ask every guest that
Mhm.
comes on the show, and it's, can you define yourself as a person, but also who do you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, has there ever been a time where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to go from a person that you might not have liked to becoming a person that you feel is passionate about what you do, being creative and just loving who you are as a person?
For me, I've got a deep, I guess, groundedness in my faith has really definitely played a part in who I am becoming. I think it's always a process. I
Yeah.
think if you stay in the same place, there is no growth, and I think it's more regression. And the older I get, I realize there's so much more for me to learn. I
Yeah.
think when you're young, you have the perception of you know everything, and you've got the world figured out. But the older I get, and I'm like, I look to the elders, and I like to call them the uncles,
Yes.
who I go back for advice and stuff. And it's just like, how do I navigate this next season? Okay, this is a new challenge which has come up. How do I approach this? So that I'm a person who likes to seek counsel.
Mhm.
um, Definitely having, yeah, the uncles and the elders to go to, is a great blessing. Because, yeah, and to answer the question, that's so hard. What did I? Let me see. I think the I think the realization of self is the first aspect of being able to say, okay, how do I change?
Mm.
Um, a lot of the times, I think people look at the lenses of themselves only through their eyes.
That's true.
But to be able to have, um, people who you trust being able to speak truth and honest with you in the good times and in the bad times is allows you to, I guess, get a 360 panoramic view of yourself,
That's true.
which for me personally has helped me to see the pitfalls and the things which I can work on for myself. So, um, hopefully that answers your question
Oh, it answered
in a
my
roundabout
question.
way.
No, no, it definitely answered my question from like a different perspective, which is really nice to be able to understand people's views. Because, like you say, some people will see their life from a bird's eye view, and then there will be some people who just see it from a mirror view. So they're only getting that reflection back. So many people see things from so many different ways, which is actually quite a beautiful thing. And I think as we grow older, I say wiser, but as we grow wiser, we get to understand things a lot differently in life. And when situations and challenges occur, we take them in different ways as well. And it makes us analyze things from a different perspective. So 100%, you definitely did answer the question. So let's talk about the love we both have for is music. Music is one of the things that can heal your soul. I believe it can heal, your life and so many other things. One of the things that we spoke about off camera, which I would love to speak about first, is the fact that I can tell your humbleness allows you to stay in the background of things. How does that feel for you? Because there are so many people who always want to be in the front, but what is it like being in the back of the music industry for you?
So one of the things I love being at the back of, I guess, and well, two things. The first thing is I get to know the real story of the artist.
I love that.
So
Yep.
yeah, my job is to enhance the music, the production. So I produce also, getting into songwriting, but I'm trained as a mixing engineer. So for me, when I'm tracking or when I'm mixing, usually I like to have the artist in there, and I'm understanding the emotion behind the lyrics which are being sung or rapped or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But then you hear the whole backstory, what inspired you to write this piece, to make this art, and then again that starts the whole a different dialogue rather than, okay, give me more reverb, or I like this compressor, or I
Yep.
want these effects on my voice. So I get to see yeah, as I said, the panoramic view of the story, or again, it might be someone else's story and they're telling it through their own lenses, but being able to be attached to the story rather than the product,
Yep.
I think is a beautiful thing. And the other part is, by nature, I'm a person who likes to fix things. I'm very much my hand again. You can see with my hands. So originally, I studied as a pianist. Um,
Oh,
so my background is I was a session musician,
yeah.
um, but I didn't like traveling on the road and kind of living out of suitcases. So I wanted to transition into more of the studio, into the studio world. So I've actually got a family member who was he was quite big in the industry. I'm not going to say his name, but he was the one who introduced me. And again, his advice for me was learn how to play keys.
Hmm.
It gives you a
Leverage.
base to go,
Yeah.
yeah, to go into the industry. And again, you may get called up for different sessions. So again, I think me going in as a keyboardist, I was able to go into the rooms. I was able to get into and learn and see from other engineers and the process of producing a record, mixing the record, mastering the records, marketing. Doing that whole journey. And yes, it's a beautiful thing. I think being behind the scenes, everyone wants to be, I guess, in the front of the lens and get the applause. But I look at that side and it's the pressure of having to live with that burden of fame. You can't just go to your local supermarket and get groceries.
Yeah.
You can't just go and take your kids to the park. It's everything has to be planned out. And you know, I like the simplicity of being able to just live a normal life,
Yes.
but still being able to work in things which affect culture.
I love
Which
that.
is amazing.
That's one of the best things that you can do in the world. So,
Mm,
talk to me about why you chose music because we spoke about you being in the background, but we never spoke about
mm,
the intention, the inspiration, the passion, the desire, the want, the need to be into music because you can do so many other things, but
mm.
music, I think you found your purpose, your ground, your feet.
Yeah,
What made you
definitely.
get to
So
music?
for me, so my parents are Ghanaian heritage,
Yes.
so that is my background. And for them, there is a few. You can either be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer.
I knew you were
Those
gonna
are
say,
your options.
yep.
Those are your options. So technically, I'm an engineer. So my first when I went to uni, I was actually studying marketing, IT and marketing.
Okay.
Um, I wasn't. I did it. I got the certificate, made them happy, and
Yeah.
then I went back into studying, and I studied post production in audio
Yes.
and audio engineering. So for me, I always gravitated to music. So originally, I can play music by ear. Um, so I learned piano mainly by ear, and then further on, I went and did the studies, and I did my classical training, did my grades, and yeah. But the love for me originally, I wanted to be a drummer. I remember there was I'm trying to remember the name of the. Oh, it's gonna bug me. But there was like a collective of musicians who all used to meet in I want to say it was North London, and
Yeah.
it was like a big jam session. And I remember going to the jam session when I first got into music, and there was maybe like 20 drummers. So to get onto the drums, the queue was ridiculous. So I thought, okay, there was about 5 or 6 keyboardists, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a better avenue to be able to get into the scene. And then again, with my uncle pushing me towards
Yeah.
he was like, either learn how to play guitar or learn how to play keys, because then you get a full
Spec.
spectrum of just of the space. So from there, I kind of fell in love, and I have to give up. For there was one teacher called Mrs. Perez in primary school,
Mm.
Emmanuel St. Andrew. Shout out to her. So she was the only, or one of those teachers, who has the. Uh, she believed in me,
Yes.
and she always pushed me and encouraged me, and it was like I loved God just because of how dope she was as a teacher. I loved to go into her class, and again, she was the music teacher, so even after school, she'd let me come and hang out, play the steel pan drums. I remember, so everyone starts with the recorder, but because she could see that I was
You had
very
potential.
interested in music, she allowed me to just whatever I wanted to play on, whether it be drums, keys, guitar. She'll just let me stay after school, bash around. And that was where I guess I got the real first love for music. So yeah, shout out Mrs. Perez.
I love that. I completely
Mm,
love that.
mm,
So
mm.
here's one. Here's the music industry is a very competitive industry for anyone to be in. How do you believe that you can stay current within your music, but also within culture and style of the music that you master and mix, but also produce in your way? How do you believe that you stay current and continuous in what you do?
I think the understanding firstly the trends of music.
Very true.
Um, yeah, I think music is it goes in cycles. Um, Now the nostalgia of bringing back old records and sampling is backing.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
Yeah.
we went through a season where everyone wanted to have the Latin kind of percussion vocals on records. Now it's more gone back to I'd say Amapiano is now the new kind of way which everyone is on.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of old school like Deneo,
That's
that kind of
yeah.
vibe. So I think firstly to be good at as an engineer, you have to just love music, all types of music. So one day I might be mixing a country records, and then I might mix an orchestra. So again,
Yeah.
having
Your ears have
I
to be
guess
sharp.
yeah, you
Yeah.
have to to just listening to music. I think is the first key. Understanding your tools and
Yes.
where the industry is going, especially now with AI coming in,
Mm.
Atmos, different formats of media coming and art coming out. So I think being aware of that and up to date in updating your skills. But I think the most important is your network.
Yeah.
Um,
100%. Your
who
network
the
is your
people you're
network.
around. Yeah, 100%. Who and I think that's just a standard for all walks of life, whatever industry you're in. The people you associate yourself with, and you connect with, are either going to push you or pull you back.
That's true.
Um, as the African proverb says, "Show me your friends, and I will show you your future." Um,
Hey.
so I make a conscious decision to be around people who are themselves trying to push themselves forward, and then also, again, iron sharpens iron. So if you're around that, you're also going to be okay. These guys are moving forward. I need to step up my game. So yeah, having I think healthy competition between people who are trying to move forward and move the industry and sound forward. Again, I feel like music is always revolving and it's always. I think this year has been a bit different. We're not going to go into it. I think it's been a bit crazy with how the industry is moving. But
Which
it's. I think it's a year of reset. But it's also I think it's giving people one of the things that
mm,
I'm a fan. I love authentic music.
yes.
I'm not a big yes. We have to follow the trends, but the music which lasts and which stands is always authentic. Um,
That's true.
when you go through time, and you see the records and the art pieces which have sustained to this point now, which we still go back and listen to. So things like the Michael Jacksons, the Earth, Winds and Fires, the Celine Dion's in their era, they were pioneers in their era. They weren't just following the status quo. They were pushing boundaries, and that is the thing which I've realized I think is lost now. I think a lot of people are like, okay, this record is hot, so I need to make a record like that. Yes, you might catch a fad, and but you'll be hot for a minute.
And
There's
then
no longevity,
yeah.
you know, in that. So I think again, being able to evolve. Don't get me wrong. Take some of the elements from those things which are hot and add it to yourself, but let it be authentic music from yourself. That is the key. I believe.
If I had to say to you, if you could only choose one track that was the soundtrack of your life, what track would you choose and why would you choose that particular?
Oh, that is a that is a hard question. Can I pick a record,
Of course.
or an album?
Yeah, you can.
So for me, I don't. There was a movie called Tron, a Disney movie called Tron
Hmm.
by, um, but the composers were Daft Punk.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
So for me, I love the element, but they were able to mix classical with traditional, like dark house and techno, and they used a fusion of sounds. And for me, that was a very defining thing, because I was like, this had never been done successfully, to be able to mix a genre like deep house into the classical realm. And everything, when you think Disney, you think very, cinematic strings and, big orchestra types or big ballads. But they used a lot of darker, grittier sounds and made it still as beautiful and as impactful. Um, so that would be, as a score, as a body of work. I like how it takes you on that journey. You have your emotional moments where, the father and son reconnect in that relationship. So you still have those elements of that cinematic, beauty, and then you have the darker scenes where it's more, hard synths and big distortion, and
Mm.
those kind of things there which catch your ear, more. So yeah, I'd say I like a little bit of, the hard hitting. Again, growing up in the States, I'm a big R&B and hip hop fan, which is very much, big kicks, big 808s.
Yes.
But then studying classical, I love I love strings. I love string lines. I love classical piano. Again, playing piano. I love jazz piano. So all of the crazy chords and the runs. So being eclectic like that, taking bits from here and here, is, I guess, yeah, yeah. So I'd say, yeah, Tron.
I love
Yeah,
that.
Tron, Daft Punk. Yeah.
If there was
Mm.
an engineer or a mastering engineer that you would like to work side by side with, who would that person be and why?
Ooh, that's a hard one. There's so many. Yeah, I can't say. Um, that's a hard one. Because I like different engineers for
Different
different things.
styles, yeah, different
Yeah.
styles, different
Um,
techniques, yeah.
so for example, I'll just name a few.
Cool.
Jason Joshua, I love his low end. I love how he's able to it just sounds nice and fat. Um, CLA, Chris Lord Algie, I think is another brilliant engineer. Producers,
Hmm.
I like Camper.
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of Camper. I like how he's taken that kind of church sound, and it's now become the new R&B. Um, I
That's true.
remember, I can't remember who did it, who did the interview, but they were saying that R&B without gospel music is not R&B. It's just nice chords. And I thought, oof, you've hit something, because there's a different element when you add those kind of colors and flavors.
Soul. It's
Uh,
like a soul.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who else am I feeling at the moment? I guess like Ryan Leslie.
Yeah.
He's for me,
Yeah.
he, he's next level. That's it's, God, there's the list is crazy. I look because yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
like
Because
to
I'm
your
just gonna start a few days. I'm just thinking of the guys I haven't worked with yet. Personally, who I'd love to work with. But I tell you what, I do really want to get. I really want to get into country. I like. I
music and
love the
music.
songwriting, and I
Yeah.
think they write the most incredible songs.
Yeah.
They can be singing about their truck, and you feel every emotion. You're like, you're talking about a car.
Or
You're
a bottle
talking
of
about,
whiskey.
yeah, like insane, But yeah, in terms of their writing, I feel like those guys are on another planet, and I'd love to tap in with those guys and just learn and soak up, you know.
I
Yeah.
think you
So
will. I don't have
mm,
no doubt in my mind, that you will. I'm 100%. You can always tell when someone's going on their path and where they're going to,
mm,
and the way that you articulate your music and the way that you do your craft. I'm 100% sure you'll go into that field, which is awesome.
mm, thank you.
So my next one for you is, I always ask people about judgment. We're constantly judged on how we look, what we do, constantly, every day. But if I was to say to you, take out the word judgment from the dictionary and there is no judgment in the world, what would you do differently knowing that you yourself are not being judged?
Do you know what? This is going to be mad. I actually think judgment is a good thing.
No, I like the fact
Um,
you said that.
for me, I feel like, okay, well, when I say good thing, I think it's all in context.
Hmm.
Because what judgment allows us to do is it gives us a reference point, you know.
100%.
So it's if you're not reaching that reference, that standard, that bar, then you're going to be judged. But if you do reach that bar and or pass it, then you're praised. So for me, um, judgment is not a. I think it depends on the lens in which you see it. And, again, it's about the person's perspective. Um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think it all depends on the context.
Hmm.
Um, of course, I feel like if you receive judgment in a negative way, it's going to affect you negatively.
True.
Um, so, for example, I look at footballers, um, and I remember Ronaldo made a comment. He was like, "Without people judging me, I don't know,
Where my standard is.
yeah, where my standard is." So,
Mm.
as he's become this great footballer, because for me, I look at, especially with athletes, um, no one sees them on the day to day. You only see them on the day they perform,
Yeah.
and that's when they're just, so they have good days, but in their bad days. But it's the things they do in secret which elevates them to that level. The same with boxers. I'm a big boxing fan. Um, I look at boxers and I'm like, it's the discipline they do
Oh,
throughout the before the fight comes. You know, we only see that 1 hour, 12 rounds of fighting, but it's the conditioning and what they're doing behind the scenes, which
yes.
propels them to when you have that moment, do they shine or do they fall? You know. So judgment is yeah,
Um,
is a good benchmark, I think.
when did you realize that language had power in music and in writing for you?
I think I've always had an infatuation with words. So my mum, she used to teach, and she was very big on what words we spoke because words have power.
100%.
Um, they create your future. If you speak positively,
Hmm.
more than likely, these things will manifest. Um, and it's and the same goes if you speak negatively, those things can also be manifested.
Hmm.
But understanding words and understanding, I think everyone has the same vocabulary, but how you put those words together
Yes.
tells a greater story.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like as a, I like lyricists, like in terms of like, for example, like rappers, like one of my favorite rappers, UK rappers, is Wretch 32.
Yeah.
And I love how he's able to articulate and break down the English language. Him and especially like like they can go from really crazy aggressive bars to okay, I'm listening to the deep storytelling.
Yes.
Okay, you've captivated my mind now. Okay, I'm listening.
Yes.
Similar to like J. Cole, um, Kendrick, Jay-Z in his heyday,
Hmm.
Wayne when he was in his in his mixtape era. I was like, for me, Wayne was the greatest rapper alive in his like the triple entendres and every. I was just like, this guy is just insane. But lyricists like that, Andre 3000 is another one for me,
Yeah.
where it's
Yes.
just like guys who can break down the language and this. They take you on that journey, you know. Um, so yeah, words are definitely um, I've definitely fallen. I think the art of storytelling, that is what it is. Yeah.
I think a great artist can tell a great story and
Yeah.
you'll capture the audience or people, or even people that you think wouldn't even like your music you'll capture just because of your storytelling and the way that you tell that story. And I always find that immensely important. It's just like when you said in the beginning about being able to listen to an artist's story and find out how their soul is feeling, how find out how they're feeling and being able to put that down. But even more so in music and in the
Mm,
instruments that you use.
yeah, the sounds you use, yeah, the sonic, yeah, definitely.
And there are
Mm,
thousands of sounds you can use to try
mm,
and articulate your emotion. It's just
mm.
finding what resonates. And there are so many keys to be able
100%.
to do that. I can talk about this all day. I
For
love this.
me, yeah, for me, music is another language,
Yeah,
and the more you're able to ex to play your instrument, I think, or use your voice, it's there's more things you can say with your either with your hands or with your voice, you know.
yeah.
So yeah.
If I was to take you on a desert island and I said to you, you have to stay there for 24 hours and you're allowed to have one president, one activist, and one musician, who would you bring on that island for 24 hours to have a conversation with?
Oof. Dead or alive?
They're allowed to be dead or alive.
Okay. Um, hmm, okay. One president.
One president, one activist,
I would
one
take
musician.
I'll take Trump.
You'll take Trump. That's
Um,
interesting. I like.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take Trump just for the banner. Yeah, I just think it'd just be funny. Like I feel like he's a character. Um, I think Obama would be dope, of course, to understand his mind and to see his journey. But I'm just thinking the other people I'm going to bring on. I just think the dynamics would be quite interesting, just to see how they interact. So activists, I would
Yes.
have the great Martin Luther King. Actually, do you know what? Nelson Mandela.
So you'll have Trump,
Um,
Nelson Mandela. That would
Nelson
be a
Mandela.
conversation.
Yeah, and then the artist I would bring would be DMX.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That would be a
just to,
wow.
yeah, just to have three different extreme,
Options. Yeah.
yeah, characters. I feel like just being in that space, like the energy they would give off and the conversations would be insane. Would be a story to tell.
It
Yeah.
feels like a scientific conversation you had. It's
I just for me, I like characters. I like people who have something about them. I think what is great about those three individuals is they they are very assured of themselves
yeah, they have the
as
confidence. Yeah,
individuals. Yeah, they have the confidence of
I agree with you.
so yeah. That to me would be, I don't want people who are just gonna be. I'm like, okay, I've got 24 hours with these. I want it to be a moment of great discussion, um, real people who stand 10 toes down. This is what I said, and I mean what I said,
Yep.
rather than I'm trying to fit into a bubble. So yeah, that would be my reasoning.
A lot of people in life find it evidently hard to find peace. So my question for you is, when was the last time that you felt totally at peace with yourself?
Hmm. I don't think you're ever really truly at peace. I think you have
Moment.
um, moments, because without chaos, you don't know what peace feels like.
Very true.
So yeah, so you need both to have balance. I prefer peace over the crazy times, definitely. But I think it's in the moments of crazy where you appreciate peace.
Yes.
So when it comes, then you bask in it and you can enjoy it. Um, so yeah, it's the balance of the two.
What do you feel is one of the things that people always misunderstand about you?
quietness. Um, I don't think it's always important to talk unless you've got something of value to add.
I like that.
So I'd rather, and then I have one of my mentors. He said a statement to me which is always stuck in my head. And as I've gone through life and I've been in the certain rooms I've been in, the quietest person in the room is usually the loudest person in the room.
100%.
You know, the people who are trying to gain attention and be, as we like to say, bossy, and put themselves out there, usually have the lower self-esteem, and they need that everyone's eyes look at me. Whereas I find that people who are more assured and of themselves, when they speak, they add value. So it's something I've learned. So growing up, I used to want to be the class clown. I wanted everyone to, and then I realized for myself that there was a deficiency in that I needed this attention to be validated.
Yeah.
Whereas when I became more assured of myself, that validation came naturally because once I started to value myself on that level, then other people valued me on that level because of how I conducted myself. So yeah, my quietness, because I think it, if you meet my family are very loud. And again, being Americans, we have that, we like to be loud. We like to, we look good, and, we wear big chains and that. But no, sometimes being the quietest in the room is the loudest speaking. So yeah.
If you were in a room full of about 10,000 people and you were allowed to say three things to uplift them, what would you say?
Love is all we need, but there's more than three words. But love is all we need. Yeah.
That's enough.
Mm.
That's literally enough. Sometimes saying less is more. Just like you said, sometimes being completely quiet is more. So, if I was to say to you, after you have done everything in your life that you've ever wanted to do, what would you say to me about your legacy? What would you like your legacy to be in the world? How would you like to be remembered?
Um, as someone who lived life with integrity,
I like that.
um, I think the most important thing outside of riches and wealth is having a good name. When Yeah, your name, when you've passed, and how do people speak about you?
Yeah,
As you know, you can't take your money with you. You can't take any of,
always
it's like
say,
one of my greatest things. I'd love to win a Grammy one day, but if I win a Grammy and people don't like me, what does that mean? Oh, you just, no, you made music. So I think, yeah, my legacy I would love to leave is, he loved God, he loved people, and he was a man of his word. Yeah.
see, that all makes sense to me. So I'm just thinking about it, it all actually makes sense to me. So I've only got two more for you. My second to last one is I would love for everyone to be able to find you and just, I've had the utmost respect of having this conversation with you today. But if anybody else would like to get to know who you are, hear your music, know more about you, where can they find you?
So literally, as you see, my name Theodore Danso. All social platforms. It's just my name, Theodore Danso. YouTube, Theodore Danso. You can find me. Reach out. Yeah.
What does the future hold for Theodore?
Cool. That's a good question. I'll be honest. I'm liking living. So before I used to be someone who liked to plan, and
Yeah.
I'm learning to live in the moment
You know what? I think
because
that's one of the most beautiful things you can do.
yeah. Um, I think sometimes yes, I think it's good to plan and to have goals and to have targets, but we lose sight of the now.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know, like tomorrow as they say, is not granted. It may not come for someone. someone might sleep today and they may not wake up tomorrow. So what I'm learning now, and especially, so I have two kids, and for me, every day waking up and seeing the joy in their faces. So learning to be present in the moment and to enjoy that moment for what it is. Um, it's like one of the rules I've set now is like, for example, dinner time, we sit at the table now. Like before, it was just everyone's kind of just doing their own thing, but now it's like, okay, no, let's sit at the dinner table and talk. No tablets, no devices, no phones. We're gonna have a conversation. How was your day?
I like that.
You're gonna, yeah, what was good about your day? What was bad about your day? But having that dialogue and actually being present in the moment, it's a beautiful thing because you start to realize and see things that things are not as bad as everyone
Yeah,
says they are. You
that's
know,
true.
you know,
That
there
is.
is beauty in every day. There's something that you can be happy about in that day. It may be small. Um, I didn't get rained on today, or I didn't have to run for the bus, or whatever. But there's something that is just like, okay, you know. One of the things I love to do um, is if I have time to just go to like a coffee shop or restaurant and just watch people go throughout the day. It's quite amusing. You see, like
People
you
watching.
start to
Yeah.
notice, yeah, people watching. I get quite a lot of inspiration. So especially when I'm mixing, I like to have moments where I like to reset my ears.
Yeah,
So
that's
just go outside, go for a walk, um, and just watch people go through lives, and what are they going there? They're washing their car or whatever, walking the dog, going for a jog, or whatever it may be. But again, just being around people and seeing like day to day interaction is quite fascinating, you know.
I love that actually. I haven't done that in such a long time. I think sometimes we
Because we
want.
usually just go. I need to go here,
Yeah,
and
it's
yeah,
just
it's
this
just
fast-paced
mm,
lifestyle, and then by the
yeah,
time you realize so many years have gone by and you haven't even taken a break
mm,
for yourself. So
mm,
I think that's definitely one of the things that we need to do a lot more is take time out for ourselves, take time out for the people we love, because I always say time is precious and it's not given back to
mm,
us. So who we spend it on and with is one of the most important things in the world. So I 100% agree with you. And this is where I say thank you so much for sharing your story.
thank you. This has been a great conversation. It's as I said, it's unusual being on the side of the camera. But I've enjoyed it, you know,
You
to
know
have
what?
a
I can
real
see you on the
conversation.
camera
Yeah.
in the future. Just your humble. And you know what I think? I think it's nice to have people like yourself on the camera. And I'll tell you the reason why. Like we were saying before, there is so many people who want to be in the front. But when you hear the stories of the people behind who help make the people in the front who they are, it shows you how hard you work as an individual and as a person.
Mm,
Because no man does everything by himself, or no woman does everything by themselves. There is always someone behind you, and usually it's the people that we don't see that make you who you are. Just like you said, your teacher.
mm,
And I always say that teachers are a fascinating part of who we are.
mm.
So it's incredible. So thank you so much for taking your time to come on the
True.
show. I appreciate you
Mm.
100%.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. And
Pleasure.
guys,
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for listening and watching the Us People show. And please remember you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or any other platform that you prefer listening to or watching. Please also come and join me every Thursday at 8 p.m. UK time on Apple TV, Fire TV, Freeview Channel 271. Also every Wednesdays on Heart Songs Live, where we replay an interview that we have done for you so you can listen back just in case you've missed it at 9 p.m. UK time. Every Tuesday, we play a pre-recorded version of the Us People podcast for you, and you can always check us out on the Savia Rocks website or the Us People podcast website. And this is where I say, guys, thank you so much. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Take care. Peace of mind, peace of mind, peace of mind. People say that having a peace of mind is trying to find a consistency of calmness within ourselves, to crave for a clarity that drives us through our emotional journey of life, to never let a person's judgment manifest into a fear inside of us.